There are two absolute certainties when it comes to motoring, even in 2025. The Mazda MX-5 is still one of the best all-around sports cars you can buy, and the Škoda Superb is still all the car you'll ever need in life. And I really mean that, and anyone who says otherwise is talking through their you know what. Even if you go back to the 90s and how not exactly desirable Škoda models were, and now, I mean, I've been driving this and the combi version in the plug-in hybrid in this lovely red for the last couple of weeks. And, you know, taking your snobby goggles off, or whatever you want to call it, isn't it mad how desirable Škoda have made some of their cars? I mean, take the Sportline version of it. It looks great. It is a car you'd be proud to walk away from in a car park. It looks very classy in this grey, but, you know, grey is grey, but it's just such a well-appointed all-round car. And if you get the Sportline rather than the L&K, which we've had on the channel recently, you get a bit more of an edge rather than comfort. But let's check out the Sportline version and find out why it has to be on your shortlist if you're considering this type of car. The other aspect of a 2-litre, 150 brake horsepower TDI engine in the Superb is that the 5 Series, for example, is gone. Now, this car is not cheap anymore. Škoda Superb Sportline will cost you high 50s, which is where the E-Class, the Lexus ES, the Audi A6 and the BMW 5 Series all used to live. But they've all moved on, some of them massively. Like, you try get a new E-Class for change out of 80 grand these days, not going to happen. And this thing will do about 1,200 kilometers on a charge of diesel. So there's a lot to consider if you need that kind of car. Black mirror housing, different alloys in the Sportline badge is down here. Not a two-tone roof, I think that might be a bit too much, but things like the boot spoiler are also black and the side skirts along the car. I think it's actually a vehicle you'd be kind of proud to look behind at as you walk away from it. And that's what I mean. Škoda they've just dramatically changed over the last decade or so, and they really are producing desirable cars. I'd really find it hard to look past this vehicle if I was in the market for a long, sleek family saloon with a boot with over 600 litres that will just do all the jobs you need it to do and get you there very comfortably. Do you need an Audi A6 anymore when this is on the market? Wiper, again, most cars of this size and dimensions and rear windscreen are doing away with wipers. Škoda lettering in black. And then there's the boot, which is the benchmark. Škoda boots, even the Octavia has over 600 litres, but the Superb goes a little bit extra. There is a huge lip if you're going to be dragging things in and out of it, but it's just vast. It's conducive to an easy life. It's wide. There's extra storage pockets down the side. There's all the shopping hook holders. You can drop the rear seats from here. This isn't flexible. That might be a potential room for improvement because it's just such a bulky boot in terms of what it can take, and that would add to it. But little to complain about, to be honest with you. And on the Sportline, you're getting the electric boot. 2 struts on it, closes pretty quickly. You'll get golf clubs, IKEA stuff, dogs and their boxes, and anything else in between inside the boot. In the Sportline, you get different bucket seats, but they still look very attractive on the rear. The quality of the fake leather is good. Seat pockets down the back. The famous, endless, vast rear leg room in the back of one of these things. And the new version of the Superb now gets this little folding iPad device holder that pops out on the front, and you can get access to the rear of the car. Even though it's a kind of Grand Coupe design almost in the roof, there's reasonable head height. I think really, really tall passengers. It'll only be you that might start touching the roof of the car. And there's 2 USB-C charging ports, and you get your own individual zoned climate control back here. So again, lots of stuff that you just don't get in lots of cars. I'm not saying you're not paying for it in this car. Sportline trim gets this fake carbon fibre strip along the side, and these perforated panels on the door cards, and the pockets are carpeted to stop things rattling around. In the front, you kind of get this low slung seating position if you want it that way. This is the smaller screen. I actually think it really works. There's a lot of large screens in cars these days, and if you don't expect the larger one, this is still does all the stuff you need to do. Bit frustrating that it doesn't come with nav as standard. When you hit the inbuilt nav, it tells you that you need to subscribe, and there's a shop button, but you have your CarPlay or Android Auto wirelessly, so you're probably not going to worry about that. Good size for drinks holders, space to charge your phone, dual opening armrests, loads of clever bits in here. Like there's a glasses holder for you because it's not up here. So you wouldn't know what you'd find in the armrest or fuel flaps or indeed at the front windscreen of a Škoda. Again, the finish on these seats with the extenders for the back of your thighs, slightly different to the L&K version. That was the cognac leather. If you did see that video, you might remember. And good display here. The gear selector now is a twist lever, where the wipers, I suppose, traditionally would have been. That stock is now here. Cruise control is also a physical stock, but it's good enough for Audi, it's good enough for Škoda. And these 3 dials that we've extensively covered on the channel, but this is just specifically looking at the Sportline version. What really has impressed me so much with this car is the fuel efficiency of this 2-litre 150 brake horsepower TDI. Let's get into that bit. I'm not quite sure why it is, but YouTube are making it more and more difficult to make the same amount of money as you could 3-4 months ago. So if that means you might watch an ad for me on the channel, that would be really, really appreciative. Or if you know someone who wants to sponsor the channel, same goes. Just reach out to me, because it would help. I've often spoke about dynamic chassis control. This car doesn't have it, and it's still decent enough. Yes, it definitely improves it when you have DCC, but even with these upgraded wheels, which have less profile, I'm still overall impressed. It's a comfortable cruiser, and that's really all you can expect. It's never going to be blisteringly quick, 150 brake horsepower. You know, it's nothing to write home about. It's sluggish getting going, but it's quiet once it gets going, and it's efficient. I was on the M50 last night. Genuinely, here's the fuel efficiency I was able to achieve after finishing a motorway drive, 4 of us in the car. You know, you're talking mid 4 litres per 100 kilometers. The plug-in hybrid will obviously do even better than that once you have it charged. When the charge is drained, you're looking at sort of anywhere between 6 and 8 litres per 100 kilometers. These are not light cars. Don't let the Sportline name confuse you. It's, you know, it doesn't battle through corners. Yes, it's reasonably flat in the corners, but, you know, Sportline is a trim as such more than anything. There are some nice touches though, like the perforated wheel and again the door cards. There's no Passat anymore. There's no 5 Series that's 1, affordable, and 2, has a diesel engine if you do need diesel. It's kind of out on its own here, and we've spoken about this in the podcast I do with Paddy, which is called Drivers Republic Podcast. If you want to have a look for that wherever you get your podcast. 1 in 4 diesel cars now in Ireland, sold, new, is a Škoda. And they've also spoken about HVO, which this car will run on, which is better for the environment, up to 90% less emissions. So diesel, it's a dirty word to some, but really the efficiency and what's coming out of the tailpipes in this car, they've never been lower, but there's no doubt it is a declining fuel source and fuel type in Ireland, and electric, looking at 2025 so far, is growing. And look, Škoda have lots of cars to offer you there if that's what you're interested in. One thing I find is way too overbearing on the car is the frontal collision. I think there's levels of sensitivity you can dial in for it, but yesterday a cyclist just went from a footpath straight out into the road in front of me without even checking. Whole car slammed on, beeps, warnings, tensioners on your seatbelt, the whole lot. And frustrating for someone else to cause that. I mean, it's good in the sense that this car in theory won't let you hit something, but it comes on very, very often. And again, stop-start traffic, it thinks you're not going to brake for the car in front when you are. That's a bit annoying. I found myself turning off the stop-start because it just hesitates. If you're trying to pull out of a junction, you lift off the brake and the power doesn't come on quick enough, in my opinion. And once or twice the software is locked up, the volume doesn't go up and down. But software is certainly a lot better than it has been from VW Group. But just once or twice this week, a couple of glitches. I just can't help being really impressed by this thing. As, you know, a dad with kids and dogs and all the stuff, as I often say, you just get to use this car in a week's trial, as I can only assume a potential customer of this car for the same reasons would. And it's just brilliant. It's brilliant. Expensive, but brilliant. Suppose really if you just get the Selection Plus in the car, you're going to be well covered there. But there is something extra classy, I think, about the Sportline version of the Superb. It just does what it says in the tin. You know, a hugely spacious and practical car. One of the longest records for distances without fueling was set by a guy who left somewhere in Poland and kept going for over 2,000 kilometers. Not quite sure how he achieved it. It must have been a very light right foot. But nonetheless, what I achieved on the motorway at this thing was really, really impressive. One of the best I've ever seen in a diesel engine. And it makes you think, is there still room for diesel when they can be this efficient? Let me know what you think. Of course, you're going to want to say, oh, it's gotten very expensive. I agree with you. But I think it's a case now more than ever, if you get what you pay for, and don't think of this as the Škoda of the 90s. This is a Škoda that, in my opinion, puts it right up to Audi. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.